All right, friends, welcome to another episode of the ATX Creator Meetup Podcast. I'm your host, Steve, and today I have my great friend, Mo, another community organizer who is here to talk about not only community, but creativity and all the happenings that's going on here in the creative space in Austin. So thank you so much for being here, Mo.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve. You know, we have these conversations a lot, and it's good to kind of get some things onto tape and that we can build upon. But first and foremost, it's about, like you said, spotlighting what we can do together. So thanks again for having me, allowing me to speak in public. It's a good
Of
thing.
course.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. We have like so many great conversations and we connect at meetups, but I feel like we don't really share those conversations. There's a lot of good takeaways. We have a lot of great ideas that maybe we can maybe we can help some people out here today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so thanks again for being here. So Mo, tell me a little bit about what you do. Like tell me about your platform, Austin in Color, formerly Young Blk Austin.
Well, it's actually a combination. I feel like it's just a metamorphosis of a brand. When I think about branding, I consider myself kind of like a brand equity manager, and no matter what the brand is, it has to align with what I'm about. And so, yes, Young Blk Austin was a brand that was more or less revolved around an Instagram page that was started after a group of young professionals who were working in tech. They really had a discourse or a space to talk around Slack. And this is when Slack was first coming out. And so they just transferred that to an Instagram page just to have presence. This is before I moved down here from Chicago in 2016, but just was able to be part of that group. The person, shout out my man, Brian Fontenot, was actually the one who had access to the page. And I mean, at the time, they were just using it for when they did their like special group events, get-togethers. But I felt like it was very a place where a lot of folks who were moving here, like myself, were getting their first information about things to do or be part of their group. And so just started being more intentional about it. And like I said, it really wasn't about the name of it. Because I mean, I'm young, but when I got here, I didn't consider myself as young as the folks who started it. But just knowing that it was, from a brand standpoint, it was a place that people who moved here, if they found out about it, they figured that's a good resource. And so, yeah, just try to make it their resource. But the ATX in Color was the brand, or is the brand, that I can say I created it, but definitely came together with folks who wanted to come up with something that wasn't so much pigeonholed. I mean, we're people of color, but to me, I'm very much more about the rainbow coalition of things that might be rooted in things that are of color. And so that was a brand that I really felt like was going to be the thing that was going to be able to elevate our communities, no matter, it wasn't so much about uplifting a particular group. It was about increasing the access to quality of life, which is something that everybody should have access to. And so ATX and Color, from that standpoint, is just that prism to try to enlighten each other about opportunities that we have as creative, as young professionals to do things here and establish families here. I know we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
To just really make this a fertile ground for growth of community.
That's amazing. It really seems like that page took off, Young Blk Austin, and then as you started this new page, Austin in Color, that's picking up right where it left off. Um, do you feel that there's a real hunger for community out there right now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, coming off of COVID, I would say I've been here since 2016, so I've been here long enough to see the before and after COVID. And I would say because of COVID, I think we are still lingering from the effects of what does it mean to interact with each other. I mean, social media, even leading up to that, made that more of a digital first and last, unless you actually get to meet someone, if you're more into the dating app type things. But just those folks, I'm married. My interactions with folks who aren't going to be through those type of things. I'm more likely to meet someone through LinkedIn and connecting than anything. But to try to find ways for that we can have touch points outside of the digital space. Like I said, that might be the first time you might know someone or their organization, but there should not be long to after you're actually able to meet someone from that organization or meet that person. And so trying to make those connections happen sooner than later was what I felt was important to growing community. So I know we've talked about how long people who aren't from here move here and how long they stay here. I think a lot of that is based on how fast they're able to, kind of find their tribe. And so the organizations or the need or the want and desires to find those common folks that you can actually see, meet, know that they're real, go out and enjoy the great food of Austin, go out and enjoy the great outdoor spaces of Austin. People want that, what I say, companionship, friendship. Literally, you are somebody I would hang out with and just try to find different places. What I'm saying, not only to shop at, but just to experience. I mean, there's so many food
Yeah.
places. There's places you've probably been that I haven't been, and vice versa. So I think those connectivity, that sense of connectivity, from a personality standpoint, is really what people are thriving for. And it's just it might take a little while after COVID to be comfortable with doing that. I mean, people meet people different ways, and I think just to make it easier for them to do so based on common interests or just common friends is what's gonna allow people to really find those things that they want to be a part of, no matter if it's a membership organization or not. It's just really about finding your tribe.
I like what you said about like finding common interests. That seems to be that something that is a real driver in a lot of the communities here in Austin. And I mean that very broadly, like activity communities as well as cultural communities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love the overlap that we kind of found unintentionally between you and me with like I try to bring creators together in the city, and you're looking to uplift creators of color, especially in the tech space, which is very, very creative. And at least from what I'm seeing, like the response has been like really positive with my events. And then when I've attended other events that we've co-organized or that you've organized, definitely finding that similar atmosphere there. And I think that comes a lot, that comes from intentionality.
I'm going to combat a little bit because we met in hindsight. We did meet unintentionally, but I'm gonna be real. I was
Yeah.
very intentional
I guess I should say
about
like digitally, like we cross paths and then we're both like, oh, this is, we're doing some, he's doing some cool thing.
Well, for your lens of things, I mean, your universe of how you show your things to me, I will give you kudos. It's very distinct, and I appreciated that. And even from it's almost like a semantic type of thing. Like from a lifestyle standpoint, I want the things that the events or things that I go to the recaps to look like that. And so when I saw that you were doing that already, I was like, okay, it's very much about how your creative lens, and then the intention from organizing people within the creative community. I'm not trying to recreate any wheels, and I feel like you were doing that in a very stylistic way, which is another level that's important here because Austin is so laid back. I feel like I might get too laid back. You know what I'm saying? So as you mature,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all about a type, but let's be real. Like when you level up a little bit from there, I think it also brings a certain amount of people out who might not be your typical bar hopper going out. They're like, okay, I want to go to something a little bit more upscale. Where the rooftops at? You know what I'm saying? Where I'm going to actually put on, at least put on some, some hard bottoms versus some flip flops. And so, just that angle is something I very much appreciated too. And so, yeah, so many angles to it. I think when you just are dealing with people like us, if it's not the music, it's going to be the art. There's so many things that we can talk about at any given times if we're prompted to do that. So you think about AI, it's about the prompts. We need prompts, and us as curators are the prompts to like things that we can be talking about, things that we can galvanize around. So, yeah, man, I was very intentional. I was like, yes, LeBron. I see LeBron. I need a I need a power forward who's going to be great, and you're definitely that. So.
Well, you're too kind. You're out there all the time connecting and networking, and yeah, I would say you're a connector for sure. You're very able to see where other people can fit in and make something better. Um, and I think that's a very important skill set because it's a big city, it's a big world,
Mhm.
and knowing who to level up with or
Yep.
to help fill in gaps in whatever you're working on, that's huge. So props to you for um, you're defining networking out here.
Props to my parents and props to our generations of folks who just know that honestly, you're gonna be better. You're only gonna be as good as the people who you surround yourself with. And if
It's
you are
true.
intentional with who you surround yourself with, and then be like, okay, trust is there. check. That's the biggest thing, right? I can trust this
Yeah.
person. I know what their, motives are. Motives aren't mischievous if they're pure and out there. And I think most of us we're not opportunists. I mean, I can benefit from things that you bring to the table, but I also know that there are things that you can benefit from me that I don't even know that I can bring to the table for you. But it's more that we get our synergies aligned. I'm basically going to end up being you in certain meetings. I'm going to be like, oh my God, I wish Steve was here. He can't be here, but boop, let me turn into Steve. Let me start thinking about the things that can benefit Steve and ask those questions and almost be introducing Steve to this person, knowing that I'm gonna circle the block and make sure that they speak to them. Um, so that superpower that I feel like I have is just the being able to think about others, how they can benefit, all along knowing that when they grow, that you're still going to benefit from it in some shape, form, or fashion. Like it's just gonna be there. And so Austin's one of those places. I mean, unlike Chicago, where people do have intentions, but it seems like it's always going to come back to what's in it for me. The what's in it
Yeah.
for me is
Philly's like that too.
let God be that distributor, but just put in your part. You know what I'm saying? Play your role
Yeah.
into someone else's success, and then allow karma in a good way, determine your success. So yeah, that's
I
what
love
that
that.
is.
I really feel like here in Austin, there isn't that competitive hustle energy about these collaborative spaces. It really feels like people are here leading with good
Yeah,
intentions, very collaborative.
yeah.
Everyone sees that someone else has something to offer. I think there might be a little PTSD for people from the Northeast, or maybe like
California, they see that
where you're
California
like, you
plate.
might be a little hesitant when someone's coming at you like just so warm and politely. I know that. I mean, I was out at Juiceland 2 years ago. I think it was like right before I moved here. I was out here visiting Aisha when we were long distance, and someone working at Juiceland was just like chatting with me as I was after I made my order. They were like, "Oh, how's your day? Like, what have you gotten into today?" And I'm like, "Oh, right, that's what they do it down here."
Mm-hmm.
They're just very
Mm-hmm.
friendly. So I could see how maybe people in business or creative spaces may feel a little hesitant to kind of shed those defenses. But for me, it's been incredible seeing all the connections form in these creator events and just the relationships that I've formed with people. It just feels very organic in this city without having to really worry about yeah, any kind of like self-interest from other
Mm-hmm.
people. It's like symbiotic, and you know that it's symbiotic, both parties now. Yeah. So speaking, I guess, of uh similar note there, I know there's a lot of other community pages here in Austin. Can you describe how you guys have collaborated and how maybe you oh man, I lost the word. Not just collaboration, but also maybe fill in the gaps for each other.
Well, going back to ATX and color, I try to look at it like it's almost like a TV network. So the network probably has an overall theme,
Hmm.
but then you also have programming within that network. And so when I think about the programming, I think of the personality. So if it's a show, the host personality. And so I went out of my way to try to meet the folks who actually were behind the pages, because of course, for me, the Young Blk Austin page did become an extension of me. It was like my alter ego. Like I was trying to always put out there things that I would want to know about. So it was very much me just being a curator of things that were brought to me, almost like an A&R. I think this is hot. If y'all trust my taste, then it works like that. And honestly, I think that's really how the page grew, because people appreciated my taste. And so when I was looking at the groups and looking at them as personalities, and I'm like, okay, Black Life ATX, shout out Black Life ATX, Nicole Cooper. She's a more of a Oprah. I mean, she's a wife, she's a mother, but she's very much of an independent thinker type of person. So I was like, okay, her lane is those things that are events that are gonna might be parent, family friendly, more things that people might be doing that's connected to their church. Uh, where y'all at though? The Boones, young family, growing family. So their things might be things that are outings that are family oriented. Um, yourself. I mean, and your fiance. I mean, I think it's very stylistic and fashion driven. So I mean, all those different pockets are just things that are different tags that I feel like, each person might lean into more than others. But at the end of the day, it's still community, because you might have one person, and I am that person, who are into all those things in some shape, form, or fashion. I mean, I haven't we had me and my wife don't have a child yet, but as soon as we do, we're gonna probably be more on the boom type of things. Like, what are the things that we can do with young children as we get older, and think about the things that Nicole has been doing with her high school age children, and being married, a longer time than my wife and I. And so just the ways, the information that's disseminated through each group based on where they are in their lives, I felt was the way to see them as one and the same. And it's just more about, how do you communicate that offering and make that the focus at any given time. So going back to when there are events that each one is planning, let's just focus on, okay, if this month, week of the month is we're gonna make it Fashion Week in Austin. So if it's not an event that's being led by you, we're not, what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna focus on that.
Yeah.
And it becomes a theme. Did we do that a couple of years? We literally have a Austin Fashion Week that was started by creatives who were supported by other groups. That's how, I swear, that's how everything starts. Me being from Chicago, I've seen a house music picnic literally start from a picnic, a tent, to now, big sponsors, and it happens, thousands of people in Chicago. It just started with people who had a common love of a certain type of music and got together, and just, instead of just doing picnics throughout the city playing house music, we're gonna meet at this park on this day and just play our music, and now we grow. So I think if we're consistent, I know if we're consistent with doing those things and tapping into each other's niche, then it becomes bigger than those pages. I think the pages are just the footprint that a lot of us have in terms of our first interactions with each other, because that's the way that we're able to communicate things. But my purpose is to get us, how do we do that, and then become, how do we go from the digital space to the physical space, and then just make it a cycle, what I'm saying, where we meet
Yeah.
until we meet again, because the physical space is what we need to support each other from a financial standpoint, where we have vendors and things like that. That's the next level that I feel like is needed to really, really build a community that is where the digital space is the communication part, but the physical space is where we
Yeah.
actually make impact in each other's lives.
I love that. Great summary. Great summary at the end. The word I was looking for earlier was compliment. I don't know why I couldn't find it. Compliment
Mm-hmm.
each other. We all definitely compliment each other in different ways, and people in the city are very multifaceted. Our members of our communities are very multifaceted, so there's a lot of different interests that will check off boxes for different people. So whether it's Aisha's events, which are elevated nights for ladies, or it's just like a young professionals mixer, like Encore ATX hosted last month. There's something for people, different speeds, different flavors to come together. And that's what I've loved, really seeing the overlap between all of our events. We'll see some people who've gone to these events because it works for them.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to run into some other people in these types of events. And it seems like it's become really tight knit too across these different pages, different groups, and it's just been amazing to see. I haven't been here that long, and it's been incredible.
Well, I want to ask you a question back. 'Cause I know we talked
Yeah.
about this, but so in terms of how long you've been here, what has been like, do you feel like there's a seasonality in terms of opportunities to do things? I mean, it's summertime is summertime. I think definitely people are going to go out more, but it's also very, very hot. So maybe with the fall and winter seasons, do you think that there's some opportunities that might not happen in the summertime to do things, because people might be more, what, if they're going to come outside, it's going to be more in terms of going to another inside venue where we can actually congregate, versus outside, is just kind of, we're there, but it's kind of, sparsed out more or less, enjoying the
Yeah.
outside weather. So yeah, I was wondering, how do you see any potential trends when it comes to seasonality?
Um, that's a great question. I host most of the events in the summer in the evening because the sun sets later,
Mm-hmm.
and that way we can kind of move outside, be on a rooftop, as dusk is creeping in. but definitely can't do any daytime events because people would roast.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so I think that's just for me. It kind of depends on the seasons as far as like when we're going to host them. During the winter, with the sun setting at like what 5:30, a lot
I didn't think
earlier,
about the time.
then I've done more brunches,
Mm.
but I've only been in operation for a year, and a lot of that has been experimenting to see what people like too. Yeah, this we're at 1 year this month, which is kind of crazy. Um, I don't
Congratulations.
I don't know if there's necessarily a limit or like as far as busyness goes and activities, time of year. I'm not too sure. Maybe I know the holidays, people might be out of town, people might travel, but I hosted our second event um, was last year in October. It was one of the South by Southwest weekends. No, that's not true because that's March. It was ACL. It
Okay.
was the second weekend of ACL, and we still had about 30 people come out, 20, 25 people or so, and it was like in between different performers. People
Mm.
came out and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the concert later, or I was just there earlier. So some people in this city, um, when the weather is more conducive, they just like to be outside.
Yes, it changes the game for sure. But you can definitely still do the outside things. You might actually probably get more people out.
Yeah,
It's just that humidity. That's a beautiful thing about where we are. Like even our winters, us coming from Philly and Chicago, we know what winter is. Winter, other than that bad winter with the grid and things like that, it's definitely more of a lukewarm type thing. And so
that's true.
I think once we get that down to a science, like, and they're probably from a venue standpoint, and I hope that's something we talk about, which I really feel like is a way that we can leverage each other, is the relationships that we have with venues
Yeah,
and spaces, because one group just to have the variety, to move around. I think, I'm one of them persons who, yeah, if I go to the same place after a while, I'm like, okay, it's just so and so Fridays at so and so versus like, okay, this I'm going to see this group of people in a different environment. It does sometimes change things, and so as different groups have different relationships with different venues, I hope that that's going to be something that folks can be like, introduce, if they have a good relationship, introduce a group to the manager and be like, okay,
yeah,
they want to do something, that's different different night, but they're going to allow them to do that based on that trust. So we might not be able to own every place, but I think we can actually maneuver around and have access to places by using each other's relationships. So
I agree.
yeah, we're gonna make that happen this fall and winter. We're gonna figure out like what are the go-to places for the fall. What are our places that are,
Yeah,
because a lot of places they're summer months or they're months that they don't need anyone to come host, but we might need someone to come in there and bring in a little extra money. Hey, we'll fill that void to the point where you do want us to come back in the summer next summer. It's like, you know what?
yeah.
Why don't y'all come back and do a little something? Hey, here we go. Yep, that's how we maneuver. So
That's a great point. I am interested in finding some more venues for the fall, so I might have to pick your brain or Brandon or Tamuka from what are your plans to see maybe there's some other spaces that I can that ATX Creator Meetups can move into. Um,
yeah, scale.
yeah,
That's how we
mix
scale.
things up.
That's how we scale up.
Yeah,
We scale
yeah,
up in space. You bring your offering to a different. You share it with the audience. You expose it to another person's audience, and then they invite you in to like come host at my house. That's really where it becomes cool, and you really show that what you're welcoming to each other's crowds. And at the end of the day, you are each other's crowds. This depends on who the invite came from.
that's right.
Yeah.
Um, Let me ask you this: you've been in Austin for how long now?
Wow, 2016, so it will be 10 years next year. So I gotta
Okay.
stop acting like I'm from Chicago.
Well, you
I
are.
am from Chicago, but
Yeah, but you're probably an Austinite now
yeah,
after all this time.
yeah.
What are some of the most noticeable changes that you've seen in culture shift, and where do you see the city heading in the years ahead?
Um, well, the biggest change I have to really put is just the pre-COVID and the post-COVID. But I think that's just obviously that's just
That's the
a
world.
U.S. thing, a
Yeah.
world thing. But I would say that Austin was even more unique than that because it was already one of that fastest growing city. So in many ways, it probably COVID accelerated the growth of Austin because of the opportunity to remote work. If you worked in tech, so it makes sense. So you're telling me you're gonna make me work from home already? I can keep on making this absorbent amount of money I was making anyway, but now I can move to a state that has no income tax. So I can make more money, work from home, and then live in. So yes, it made so much sense. But we know that, that tech job bubble has, kind of bust in the last couple of years. And so in hindsight, I know that the acceleration of growth, and then now kind of let's just say the drawback, now still leaves Austin in a good place, but it still has to find its footing in terms of, what employment means to folks. I mean, the creative community is always, I feel like had a challenge in terms of the expectations of coming here. I mean, a lot of folks, I think, from a musical standpoint, at least from a musical standpoint, first experience here is coming to South by Southwest. They might think it's like that all the time, and it's not. I mean, Sixth Street is still going to be Sixth Street, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's more of a, a drinking type of thing than a live music type of thing. But also still the live music, capital of the world. But I just think it's changed. That stereotype is different depending on if you're an artist or if you're a fan. But for the future, I think once those things pan out, and folks really have more stability in terms of, careers and ways of supporting themselves. I mean, the cost of living is very high, so I feel like you have to really have a combination of streams to really be able to maintain. But God willing, or just economics willing, we'll find those footings, and we can support each other, and have us have some stability here in terms of housing and things like that. But I'm very excited. Going back to thinking about ATX and color, like I said before, it's not about being rooted in any type of particular race or anything. It's very much about the universality of things. My my fashion connotation is like universal colors of Benetton. You know what I'm saying? What that means in terms of the spectrum of different colors and different cultures, knowing that Austin by 2050 is going to be 70% multicultural. This lets you know that it's inevitable that the different tastes of folks that are here is just going to increase. To me, it's the opportunity is how we are able as creators and curators of events to be chefs of a gumbo and know what a gumbo means. And I think gumbo's a really hard thing to make because it is this kind of like it is a hodgepodge of things. But if you know what the flavors are and the things that people like, you might every batch can be different. And I think that we can work together to create a different batch of gumbo any given month that's gonna appeal to the taste of folks throughout that month, and then be programmatic and do that consistently. I think that is going to be the recipe for what a innovative multicultural city looks like, because it's going to be rooted in the organizations who work together to create the events that those same people go to, versus I think traditionally major cities have been where people have waited for things to happen for them to go to. And a lot of the times those, before social media, those might just be big concerts, might be big parties. But I think now since we're more grassroots, and it's about community, it takes organizations, like-minded folks, to be on the same page about what they're offering and giving people an opportunity to find their tribe, commit to going and showing up. Because I
Yeah.
think coming out of COVID, it was so difficult for people to commit to doing things. So we were still trying to figure out, what does it mean to go out with a mask on,
Yeah, we're just trying to survive.
Yeah, it's
Just trying to make it.
so weird.
Yeah.
So weird. 'Cause even the most confident of folks personality wise is like, okay, I can talk to you, but I know I got to talk to you through this mask. It's just not the same. So
Yeah.
I think we might finally be we're out of the mask comfortability thing, but I still think being able to meet people and speak without that almost non-figurative mask is still what's kind of going on. But if you find somebody and y'all both like the same music, all that goes away, right?
Yeah.
Have the same appreciation for art, all that goes away. From the same places. Oh, you from Philadelphia? I'm from Philadelphia too. Oh man, we can connect about that. There's so many people who I've connected just because they're from the same place and they just need that sense of home. I really get that folks from people who from New Orleans. Like they really miss, just the aspect of the food and the spices when they meet somebody else who's from New Orleans. Let's add that connection to be able to talk about certain things. So I think if we can give each other that from a music, a art, a culture, a education standpoint, that's what's going to make that growth of cultures be so cohesive where folks are going to be as educated about other people's cultures, like coming up on Hispanic heritage much, and being down in Texas and the culture, how much I've learned about the Hispanic heritage history from being down here, I think has really increased my multiculturalness, where I can then celebrate their food and their culture just as much as they do. And that's the beauty of a city. Is supposed to be about appreciating each other's cultures and be able to tap into that, because then you appreciate them. Without the culture, it does just become a black and white thing. And I'm just trying to say that those colors represent a rainbow of experiences that we can have with each other. And so
Yeah.
to focus on that,
Rainbow Coalition.
this the coalition.
Yeah.
The thing, Chicago,
Yeah.
Jesse Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, that's beautiful. I think that the city really is a very welcoming city. A lot of cities will say that, like, hey, everyone, we want you to come here. But Austin, for what I'm already experiencing in my short time here, is there are spaces for everyone. And those spaces are really trying to take up space online and be informative in the same way that Young Blk Austin, Austin in Color is doing. Um, this requires people to do a little research and see like there are other people out there with similar interests or similar cultures that I can be a part of. And then they have to leave their house, which
Yes.
I know is hard
The
for a
hard
lot of
part.
people, especially for introverts. So I'm going to ask you, what is some advice you can give for people who are looking for a community but maybe are either a little shy or they're just not sure?
A lot of things. That's a hard question to ask an extrovert, an Aries extrovert, because I feel like I'm just kind of natural about that. Just
Yeah.
when just meeting people and just to me, my first question is like, where you from? And when someone's not from Austin and not from Texas, that's a whole conversation about what brought you here and their
Yeah.
experiences here. So I think about icebreakers that a lot of events do. I know we've been to a autumn event, joint autumn event. Shout out Mike Ward and the team over there. They always do a good job of doing icebreakers. I think they did one when we were at the mixer, the Encore mixer, where there's those sheets of like find someone who's not from Austin, find someone who works in a certain industry. It's kind
Cool.
of like that type of thing. So I think just having people giving back to prompts, giving people a place where they at least have the prompt to be like, all right, everybody in this room is interested in a certain type of music or a certain type of art. Once I think those conversations starts, people can start making those connections. But then I think beyond that is just giving, offering people places where they can then build and create their own relationships, and I think that's the hard part. That's almost down to it has to be a science in terms of what type of event they do. But I think with your creative meetups, it seems like that's really what you're tapping into, where it's about the space that's making the space conducive to conversation. I'm sure you have music, but it's not all about the music. It's just about the ambiance. And so I think the more we can do those things, I mean, maybe a gathering might actually have a topic, not so much that you make everybody talk about and pass the mic around, but at least know that that's a topic of conversation that's going around and that can be built upon. Maybe those are the type of prompts that can get people out their shells. But I think it's really just about allowing people to know that they're like-minded people here, and this is their opportunity to meet those folks and putting those opportunities out there in enough time for them to really get the confidence to do it. Some people just really have to be like, okay, their level of commitment has to be based on how much time they have to commit to it.
It really comes down to no risk, no reward, and the connections that you make when you go outside and meet people with similar interests. You can learn a lot. Um, you can feel seen. You can feel like you're a part of something, and I think that's something that people are really they're really searching for.
Mm,
But I get it. I get that a lot of the introverts that are out there are just they're just not sure. You know, they may feel going in a new space, they may be judged, they just may feel like an outsider. So I know that our all of our community pages between yours, mine, where y'all at though, what are your plans? They try to make people feel as comfortable as possible when they come into these spaces because we've all been those new people
mm.
in a new space. Like we were all most people are new to the city, so keeping that perspective in mind, I think everyone's doing a really good job of helping new people enter and integrate so that it doesn't feel like they're coming into a clique or they're coming
Mm.
into some kind of exclusive club. All these spaces are open, and it just takes that initial step of going outside and doing it.
Yep, it's all it takes. It really, really does. I just think people back to personality types, but I really believe no matter if you're an introvert or extrovert, when you find someone who has a similar passion about something that y'all can connect about, that's what we do. We got to put ourselves in those positions to find those things out. Yep.
Facts. Let me ask you, why do you feel that creativity is important? And even for busy people, what would you say to them to make time?
Okay, creativity is important. Without creativity, we wouldn't have the world. I think the stagnation of thought is the antithesis of creativity. So stagnation of thought, being, status quo, being comfortable. Yeah, we wouldn't have half the things in this world if it wasn't for that. So, but from a second part of the question, can you pose it a little bit again? The second part.
Yeah. Would you tell someone who's like really busy because who has excuses? I would just say just do it.
I tell my wife all the time, Nike, just do it. So I love Nike stock. This is from a
Yeah.
standpoint. Um, yeah, I think people's hesitancy, if it's in their own progressing their own lives or just progressing um their social life,
Hmm.
a lot of it is just not knowing or maybe not thinking about the type of person they want to become. And I know the things that I want to improve on at this stage in my life, I'm going to probably evolve into those things faster by being around folks who already have those skills or have mastered those things. And so I think if you have that perspective in terms of meeting people, then you're less hesitant on being out there because you know that you're holding yourself back from being your better self. So a lot of it, I'm more definitely more of the motivational book reader. I mean, my favorite book that I was reading in grade school, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and it's the idea of having a paradigm shift. I think every day we have an opportunity to have a paradigm shift because every day you can do something different. So depending on how, where you are in your life and you should want to improve every day. It's like, what are those things that I can do, I'm going to do differently or how I'm going to think about something differently. And so I believe going back to what we're able to offer as curators of events, what are those opportunities that we give them to step out and be like, I'm going to go to this thing and put forth the effort and put myself out there. So a lot of times that's really what it is about being in an environment to learn or meet somebody who's gonna who's gonna lead you to somebody else or to something else that's gonna evolve you. And so yeah, it really does start with you. I know it's easier said than done, but I believe that that stepping out and not being stagnant is really going to be something that we have to also prompt people to do.
Yeah.
So a lot is on us. We're leaders of thought and they trust our taste first, but now I think if we continue to complement each other and offer spaces that no matter where these folks are in their lives that they can come out and it's just to start to find their tribe, then they become the leaders too, right? Because they them see themselves growing within the community that we've allowed them to be a part of through our offerings, and then it just really really grows, and then that's when we see people out all the time. Like we have no like. Steve, you like, man, I don't got no space for this next ATX. We need another space. Oh, why do your plants is like, you know what? Remember that rooftop we did the event last month? Yeah, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna put ourselves on the line. We're gonna do a joint event.
Yep.
It's over. It's already over. Oh, of colors doing those things. There's so many groups already that are doing those things, and so just to have the insights and the planning, I think I know it's gonna allow a lot of people to be like, I see the runway to my development as a person, and I'm gonna commit myself to doing these things to the point I'm gonna get my outfit. I have no excuses, no excuses whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? So we're getting there. We're there already, actually.
I agree. Yeah, we're there. We're putting the offer out there, the offer for people to make the connections, to find the inspiration, and we're being as persuasive as we can. And hopefully, we just continue to convince people to do it, get off their screens, to come out to our events. Um, Let me pivot and ask you, because you mentioned style right there. What inspires your style? Because there are not too many snazzy dressed people here in Austin, and you have a very distinct, clean style about you. So, can you tell us a little bit about that? Is this like pure Chicago?
It's pretty Chicago. It's
Okay.
Chicago. We are flashy. Um, I, I went to Howard, which they say is a fashion show. I mean, I definitely knew women who came to 8 o'clock classes with Fendi on.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's what, yeah, like straight up. So I mean, it's not about so much the brands; it's about how you put it together. But no, I mean, I think you can attest to that. I've heard that most men are colorblind, and I know I'm not. I definitely had the big box of crayons with the pencil sharpener, so I know the difference between, you know, salmon and pink. I think
Yeah.
it's salmon right here, but no,
Yeah.
just being colorful, honestly. I always want something to kind of pop. Um, I was complimented, got a great compliment when I used to work at the Gap, um, from a lady where I was wearing an orange shirt, and she's like, that color, this looks great on your skin. And this is just her compliment was so pure, and it was a white woman. I'm gonna be real, and but she said it, and it was such a just a fashionable. It gave me a knowledge base as you know what how I can use colors to compliment me, and so ever since
Yeah.
then I've just been very much about like okay I got to have at least something that pops. So yeah, it's about making a statement, not so much being seen. I definitely do dress for me, but
Yeah.
then it's about being consistent too, right?
That
You don't
that
ever
is true. Yeah.
like get caught that one
No.
time where it's like you just bummed out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not superficial, but I am just conscious about coordinating. You just want
Yeah.
to let people know that you put thought into what you do. I think
Yeah.
that's really what it's about.
I agree 100%. It's an extension of us,
Hmm.
right? Um, yeah, it's a side of us. It's something that kind of speaks about us without us having to say anything.
Hmm.
That's what style is. And there's definitely a vibrance about you. There's an energy, and I think that translates through outfits. I do feel like the most confident people dress in a way that matches their personality because they know themselves well, and that just translates to all facets of their life.
Hmm. For
So
sure.
yeah, I always love hearing people's take on that. I feel fortunate to have connected with other stylish people in the city because it is very casual.
Mm.
So it's kind of nice with someone else.
Yeah.
You run into them, you're like, oh, they can
Oh,
put it on too. Yeah.
hey, collared shirt.
Yeah. Oh, you and an iron, I could tell. Yeah.
Iron. That's a whole nother thing. I love
Yeah.
to iron.
Yeah.
I love to iron for sure, for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely relaxing. And then I feel a sense of accomplishment. And I'm like, oh, look at this shirt. It's creaseless.
Now my problem is the shoes. Like I don't need to
Yeah.
buy another pair of shoes ever. My problem, and I have a lot of my shoes in the boxes, so I don't know what I have.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I think I did
I have
pretty
a lot of
good
shoes
today,
too.
but I might go home and find a pair of shoes. I'm like, dang, I should have wore those instead. And so it's kind of like I have like a
Yeah.
lot of like remorse, outfit remorse. It's so weird, but I just need to wear more of my things. So, but
Yeah.
hey, fortunate enough to be the same size pretty much since college. So, yeah,
Same.
I can go. I can go for a long time without wearing the same thing twice, for sure.
Yeah, I'm the
That's a
same.
privilege, man. I feel
It
like I'm
is.
talking about like we sound so
I
materialistic,
know.
but it's
A
just
lot of
what
horrible things happening in the world, and yeah, we're like, oh, our endless closets.
yeah, well, actually, no, you think, and you're probably like me, like you just have things that are just timeless now.
Yeah.
You understand that? Okay, there's some things I might have bought as a fad, like I was talking about, like graphic tees. There's some graphic tees. Like, okay, I might not wear that again,
Yeah.
but a lot of my
Timeless is
stuff, I'm like,
better.
I got some timeless things. I got some timeless things that I feel like I can still wear. I will maybe wear when I'm 60. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I might not have the Jordans on, but it's
I
still
mean, you
going, it's
could.
gonna be
You could.
something. Yeah. Oh man, Jordans at 60.
I've seen it.
Wow, if they're still making Jordans, Jordan is definitely still gonna make a lot of money even when he's not on
Oh
Earth
yeah,
anymore. They're gonna be Jordan
his whole
100.
family is covered
Oh,
with
he's
yeah.
it's all be good.
Let me ask you this: what is next for Austin and Color? Do you have any exciting projects coming up, or just any general plans you would like to share?
Yeah, some things that I feel like you're a part of too. I mean, all these organizations and these brands, I think we really huddled up together, and it's like, okay, we know we see the vision how we can work together. To us, to me, the level up is how do we then utilize the resources of the city to do what we do because case in point, Downtown Austin Alliance. I mean, they get money from the city to hotel, tax type things, and they're very much about keeping the city vibrant, not only from a tourist standpoint, but from the people who live here. And so, you and I have been to things that they have spaces downtown where they're really trying to bring folks and to appreciate the city. So I feel like I know there are already organizations that already have the spaces that want to do the things that we're already doing. And so to be able to tap into those resources, to be able to do things and associating with each other from a branding standpoint is big. But then it utilizes those spaces. Like as we continue to grow and do joint things, the rooftop of the public library is beautiful. I don't know if you've seen.
That is a beautiful space.
There's the art space that's on Congress. I think it's the Institute that has like the wall, but then they have a rooftop there. I mean, these are places that are run by organizations that have affiliations with a lot, from a philanthropic nonprofit standpoint. And so I know that our next step is to utilize those relationships to do things bigger and better. That will not only galvanize the city and show that grassroots organizations are bringing folks to take up space that traditionally might not have been available, and then just rinse and repeat, and just make it a place where folks from out of town are going to be like, we're going to Austin this weekend because it's a whole weekend of events, you know. ATX Creators meet up Fridays, and then we're gonna do Where Y'all At on Saturdays, and then we're gonna do a brunch on Sunday, and then drive back to Dallas in the afternoon. Like those are the type of things that I feel like that we can really draw to Austin with us being the center of the state. And I
Hmm.
think that we really have a unique offering from a creative, from an art, from a tech, standpoint that can really bring people here. So that's the next level of it is to scale up and utilize our collective powers to then bring it to that next level of folks who can give us that platform to really show community in the center of downtown. I mean, we know that historically Austin has been something that a lot of the creators have only been doing able to do things in the east side of the city. But with the help of Downtown Austin Alliance and their efforts with their XOXO program and their DASA space, I really feel like that we can bring what we're doing and almost do pop-ups throughout the city that will be able to really show that we draw people to culture, to each other, and that the digital part of our connection is just a catapult to doing things face to face, and really just bringing our resources together. But it starts with human resources. That's the number one thing we're trying to tap into.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to collaborate this year. I feel like the year is going to fly by, but nevertheless, I'm excited to collaborate in the months and year ahead. And I actually would love to do a panel discussion soon. I'm interested maybe in working with the DASA space. So I need
Let's
to
do
talk
it.
with Vanessa and team about that. But yeah, I think it's gonna be more and more exciting opportunities. I'm so glad that you have joined me today. This podcast discussion was so fun. And I'm excited for so many more people to hear your story and connect with your page and just continue for us to support one another. Let me just give you this opportunity here to plug. Where can people find you on socials?
Well, the main page is Austin in Colors. That's the ad. Austin spelled out INCOLOR. Moving forward, we will be working on an actual digital platform, which I feel like is, trying to break away from that algorithm, so we can continue to curate our things through our voices. And then the other big thing, knocking on wood, is linking up with a platform called Ignite, which is very much about identifying folks based on their sparks, which are all very much community impact driven. And so just trying to layer up your typical touch points that you might have on Instagram and Facebook and make it more of a community and social impact type of touch point. So look forward to that. That's definitely going to be maybe a next year thing. But God willing, we'll be able to get some funding together to beta test. And you're definitely going to be one of the first because it's really about having a tool to organize the organizers and then also measure impacts from the folks that we bring into the fold. So looking forward to that. Yep, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mo. It was a pleasure. Thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, be sure to follow Austin in Color and stay tuned, of course, for all creator events, all culture events through Austin in Color's page. And I think that's all that we have for today. Thanks again, and catch you guys next time. Peace. That's a wrap.
Bang, bang.